Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old climber from Canada, currently living in Montreal. Welcome back to my training series, where I record most of my training and provide in-depth analysis of every session. So in the last training series episode, we were doing the really hard comp simulation, and we had a lot of spray wall sessions featured in that episode as well. And I just want to reiterate, I think I've mentioned it recently in the training videos, but what I'm kind of doing right now with my training is I'm allotting like about a month to kind of just go with the flow and do the training that I want to do, what is fun and what's inspiring and motivating for me, and not be on such a strict program like I usually am. And this is important to dedicate time in the year to just messing around kind of. But at the same time, I'm still doing like training because I find training fun. But anyway, this is just especially important after Pan Am's, when we had not so great of an event with a lot of build up to that. It can feel a little bit bad when the training doesn't pay off in the way you want. And so it's just a good opportunity to say, okay, let's just take a break, remember why we enjoy training, just feel the pure joy from it. And it's been really good. It's been about a month and a half now, maybe not quite, maybe just over a month, where I've been going with the flow. I've been really inspired by the spray wall recently, of course, and so we've been spending a lot of time on that, which is also convenient because it's also the part of the season in which we want to build strength, and spray wall is a great way of training that. So anyway, all this is to say, I think it was in the most recent training series video as well that I mentioned I wasn't going to do the high performance competition because I would rather have like a nice stretch of 4 months to just train and get stronger for next season. But what is happening is during this break from being on a really strict training program, my competitive spark is kind of being reignited. And that's precisely the point of having a break like this from the super regimented training, is because you get to feel what it feels like to take it easy. And yes, it's fun, but also being super competitive and regimented is really fun. So when you don't do it for a little bit, you start to remember why you love being regimented and training hard and why it's fun. Whereas if you're just always so caught up in being on a really strict program, you can forget that you enjoy it. And it can just feel like work and not fun. So anyway, after taking it chill for like a month and a half, I'm getting really, really psyched to compete again and really be strict. So I've decided that I actually want to do the high performance competition. So for those who don't know, the high performance competition is an event that's very similar to Canadian Nationals. The way it works is the top 20 from Nationals get to go to this event, and it's used as an extra point of selection for making the Canadian national team to go to World Cups. Now that being said, the event isn't worth very much standing in the Canadian rankings. Like, it's sort of said to be an event to pick the Canadian team, but it doesn't really make much impact. Like, even if you go and win this event, it doesn't give you many points to the Canadian national ranking. But what the event is really good for is it's a competition with, I think this time there's going to be 2 rounds of 3 boulders, and the boulders are like really, really hard, and they're supposed to be World Cup level. So it's a really good experience and good practice going into the season to just feel what it feels like to get on a really, really hard competition round. And you also get to compete with friends from all over the country. So anyway, I've decided that I'm going to do it. And what this means is I want to be feeling decent for it. Like, I'm not going to necessarily try and peak for it really hard, but I'm going to structure up my training a bit. And we're going to start doing like a regimented program in order to be ready for the high performance competition. And also just start really focusing in and honing in on training for next season. And then, yeah, I guess I'll point out what we're doing right now. We're just having a session of bouldering at Bloc L, and it's actually been kind of a fun session. We're taking our first fall here. This yellow boulder is the only 14 up in this location of Bloc. And yeah, since I decided I was going to do 2 sessions of bouldering today, I put one attempt on that yellow and said, okay, that feels pretty hard. I want to save that for the second session, where I usually feel stronger than the first, and we'll just spend the first session going around trying to do everything else. And actually, this boulder that we're getting on now is a really, really cool boulder, I think. This one feels just like really satisfying to climb on. I'm not sure, but I think like my best guess is I think this was set by Caleb Thomas, who just started his job setting here at Bloc. And I'm guessing this because it just feels like a slightly different style from the typical Bloc setter style. And I wouldn't be surprised if he set this boulder. I have no idea. Like, I didn't see them setting this section, but anyway, I have a good eye for like when a new setter starts in a gym and you can see like their contrasting style. So I'm curious to see if he actually set that boulder. I'll have to ask him. But anyway, that one was like a cool flash. That was the only 13 in the gym, and it was like a really hard, try hard flash. So yeah, we're gonna spend this morning session going around trying to get lots of variety in, and then the second session we'll revisit that super hard 14. So anyway, yeah, during this episode, we're gonna have like a collection of some sessions from throughout the week. And this is gonna be the last training series episode before we start this regimented training plan that I'm talking about. So throughout this episode, I'm kind of just messing around a little bit still. And what I was in the mood for today was simply some regular gym sets. I needed a little break from the spray wall. I'm still really psyched on it, but you can't just spray wall literally every single session, which I've almost been doing. So yeah, I definitely wanted to hop on some comp style stuff for fun. And then, yeah, so in the next episode, I think I'll actually do like a program breakdown and maybe like a little season outline. It's been a little while since I've done one of those. But yeah, I'm going to write out my training program for the next month. The high performance competition is at the end of January. So I'll write out the next month of training leading up till then. And I'll also get like a general outline and structure for the whole season and really lay the land for what competitions and events we're going to be doing. So yeah, you can expect a breakdown of all this in the next episode, I think. So I'm just enjoying my last few sessions of complete freedom before we start the training program again, which I'm actually quite excited for, I think. And I'm pretty sure it'll still be heavily focused on spray wall training. I think maybe the biggest difference is that I'll do like a decent amount of spray wall sessions, but I'll start campusing more. So we'll still be spending most of our time on the spray wall, but those spray wall sessions might be split between spray and campus. And then we'll have maybe like 40% of the training we'll do on gym sets and comp style stuff. And then since I want to be feeling pretty decent for the high performance comp, as we get closer and closer, I'll just start substituting out a few of those spray wall sessions for some regular bouldering sessions so that we feel accustomed to comp style bouldering by the time we get to the event. But anyway, during this session, I was definitely feeling pretty good on the powerful stuff, but actually quite rusty on the jumping and the slabs in particular. And this is simply for the reason of we've been doing a lot of spray wall training recently. And I'm not used to, like, my spatial awareness for being on vertical terrain is super rusty right now. But this is okay, right? And this is by design, because it's a good time in the season to be building strength and just training on the steep and getting really strong, because we don't have any competitions nearby. So I don't need to be feeling good on vert terrain, basically. So we're going to be focusing mostly on the strength now, but then when the important comps start rolling around, definitely got to make sure I'm feeling good and able to like do vertical boulders fast. Like I was still able to perform decently on some of these slabs and jumps today, but they were taking me like a lot of tries. This one in particular is a really cool slab. I was like, just felt so scared on it and insecure jumping to this little foothold. Whereas like peak comp mode Zach would have no fear, and I would have like a really comfortable time with this boulder, I think. But yeah, we'll make sure we're feeling pretty good for the high performance competition. And actually check out how my right foot lands on this little foothold. See how I kind of land it in the center of my foot? So this is a former tip of the day with any sort of moves where you have to kind of stab your foot dynamically on a little foothold like that. That's on a volume or jibbed on a big sloper like this. Sometimes, well, I mean, almost always, it's very difficult to be super precise and hit that foothold with the point of your toe. And it's actually still just as effective to land on it with any part of your shoe that hits it first. And then what you could do is switch it to the point of your toe. So that's usually how I'll approach a move like that. And it worked quite well on that boulder, because if I was to try and jump and land the point of my toe on that foot chip, it would have been way too precise. And there would have been a good chance of me missing the foothold and like smashing my shin. But anyway, that's a good little reminder of that previous tip of the day. So we had like a really good morning session actually, and basically finished off the gym minus this boulder. I think there were maybe like slightly softer sets up at this location of Rose Block though, so I don't think that's saying too much. But anyway, this boulder in particular, I think was like properly hard. So it was kind of worked out perfectly that we had the first session on everything else, and then we had an entire session to just focus purely on this one. Because I think this boulder sort of demands an entire session with just intent on it particularly. So this one is like super fun. This is just like a classic, powerful style, really fun moves, nothing too complicated or funky. And yeah, this is like a Zach style boulder, I would say. So I was actually quite surprised to find that these last couple moves turned out to be the crux of this boulder. So coming into this second last crimp is probably the hardest move on the entire climb, and I really didn't expect it. I thought that the crimp at the end that's capped would be like pretty decent. Like check out this second hold, for example. This crimp is pretty okay. It's like flat with maybe a tiny in cut, so it's not too bad. And it can't be too bad, otherwise the jump to this next sloper would be like crazy hard. But anyway, I was expecting the second last hold to feel similar, but the second last hold is like super slopey and really, really bad. And I was expecting this jump move and then also this tension move coming into the right-hand sloper. Like I was expecting these two moves to be the crux of the boulder, but I was quite wrong. The other reason that this second last move is really hard is because the feet are really awkward. So you'll notice how I'm putting my right foot on the right sloper. This is so that I can lay back on the crimp a little bit more because the right hand is kind of a side pull. But the hard part about doing this is that the sloper is facing the wrong way. So it's hard for me to actually step on it and lay back because it's facing in the opposite direction. So I have to actually what I do on this hold is I wrap my left knee on the other side of it and kind of compress it while back flagging. It's a really crazy, complicated move, and it's all to try and take weight off of my right hand because the crimp is so bad. But yeah, I'm like having a really good time on this boulder, trying hard, and I've actually been doing single sessions mostly recently. So this is my first time doing a double session in a little while. And anyway, I'm trying this boulder like not that many times, like maybe a handful of attempts. And I start to power out really fast, like all of a sudden I can tell that my session isn't going to last much longer. And so I go into like, okay, I better send this fast mode or I'm going to be too tired to do it properly. So I had a really good attempt there where I just got fired up and said, let's do it right now before I run out of energy. And we were able to snag this end of a super, super epic, fun power boulder. And so like I said, this episode is sort of a collection of training sessions that happened in the past week. So actually this session here, where we're revisiting this really, really hard R5 from the comp simulation from the last episode, actually took place before the first couple sessions that we featured in this video. And we're just visiting it later in the episode. So anyway, you can see that I'm kind of playing around with some different beta on this boulder. And that's because at this point in the training week, my fingertips were actually really, really pink, but I wanted to get back on this boulder, especially to try the ending, because I think the ending is like even harder than the campus paddle would be potentially. The ending of this boulder is like really, really hard. So I wanted to try it, but I also didn't want to bleed from every fingertip if I tried this campus paddle over and over and over again. So what I decided to do was try to see if there was a way that I could static through the beginning. And then if that didn't work, I would try the campus paddle a few times. But anyway, I'm practicing the ending a little bit first before giving ground attempts, so that if it's really hard to get up to the end, I want to make it count the first time that I do. And yeah, like coming into the last blue hold and then doing the last move is probably the crux of the boulder. And it's like all the way at the end of it too, which is extra mean. But anyway, you see that I am trying this beta that I can tell is probably going to go. And I haven't been super close to it yet. But then on this next attempt, I just do like the most perfect float to the second hold. And I hit it like just at the most perfect spot where I don't have that much backswing and my hands just stick and hit the sloper perfectly. And I was like actually quite surprised to still be hanging on that hold when I realized I'd stuck the move. And so I got psyched and I wanted to make it count. And while we're sort of breaking this boulder, since it's supposed to be like this full-on paddle campus to the white crimp, I actually think that it's still really, really sick, like with this version, where it's this really cool campus float to this first hold, and then like a really bouncy, like campus sequence to static through those holds. And even if that was like the intended sequence, I think this boulder would be really, really sick. And I might go revisit the paddle just to really practice it on a day that I have lots of skin. But honestly, I think that the boulder is cool enough with this static version that I also might just leave it at that. So anyway, this session also took place earlier in the week, and maybe this boulder looks familiar to some. We have tried this once recently in one of the spray wall videos, and this one is a boulder that I set that I'm pretty proud of actually. This one turned out to be really, really nice. Potentially maybe the coolest boulder I've made on the spray wall so far. And oh yes, actually I made like some little tweaks in the middle sequence here. For those who didn't see the last episode, we kept falling at the last move of this boulder, doing the toe hook move to the crimp. I fell like a bunch of times, and they were all ground attempts too. And then what I realized is that the way I had this boulder before, the middle sequence was potentially breakable, and you could skip this hard left heel hook that I'm doing on the green. So anyway, I added this pink pinch, and I added the foothold that I'm stepping on with my right foot now. And what this does is it just makes it makes the sequence nice and cool, I think, where we have to do this left heel hook on the green hold in order to match the teal sloper and then move through the sequence. But the tweaks in the middle aren't too big of a deal. The more important part is that we're doing this ending a lot better actually than the first session we were trying it. I think in the first episode we were trying it, I actually didn't stick the move to the teal crimp, like the second last hold. And now I've already stuck it a couple times today, which is a lot more promising, and we could potentially get this end. But the really hard part about this boulder is, since it's so long, and the crux of this boulder is like a body tension based move, that just makes it extra hard, because to exert like proper body tension while you're super fatigued and pumped and out of breath is like very difficult to do. And even though I can do the toe hook pretty comfortably from a couple moves before it, from the beginning, I just feel my core is so tired, and my left toe hook just completely slips out. So I know that I have to kind of speed through the beginning as fast as possible and waste as little energy as I possibly can so that I can exert the best amount of body tension on the toe hook. And I can even sort of tell before I set the toe hook whether it's going to be successful or not. It's just all about how tired my core is and if I'm going to be able to exert good tension on the toe hook. But anyway, I want to make my first couple ground tries on this boulder count, because that's when I'm going to be my least amount pumped. So this is our second ground attempt of the day, and I make it up to the toe hook, and I feel like, okay, I think I have a pretty good chance, but the toe hook still slips out. But what I was able to do actually was make a very fast decision to continue on to the finish hold. Since I had basically stuck the crimp, and all that was going to happen was that my toe hook was going to slide, I had three choices. I could try to hold the swing, which would be very difficult because the holds were bad. Or two, I could fall. Or three, I could just do the next move because I was basically set up for it. And I had to make that split-second decision, and it paid off. And we got a send of probably the coolest boulder I've made on this spray wall so far. I really like that middle sequence where we had to recycle through a bunch of holds. So we're going to finish the episode off with a campus session. And it's actually been quite a while since I've campused. I think maybe almost 3 months since I've had a campus session. So anyway, I was ready to feel like kind of awkward, and I wanted to get back into the flow of campusing a bit. So yeah, actually, the point of the session too was like, I guess I haven't mentioned that I'm going to take a rest week starting tomorrow, like the day after this campus session here. I'm going to take 5 days off, do a nice little reset, and like physically and mentally before I start the super strict training program. So it kind of is not counterintuitive, but it's not really important for me to do a campus session right now physically because I'm about to take a rest week. But what I wanted to do was just kind of make a couple boulders, get used to feeling like what it feels like to campus on this wall, just so that when we start the strict training program, I'm just kind of already in the groove. And I have done like a campus session somewhat recently, and I have a few campus boulders to try that I've already forerun. And yeah, just get a general feeling for what holds are good to campus on, etc. Because we've spent a lot of time climbing on the spray wall, but campusing is quite a different story. And this is only my first session campusing on this wall. So yeah, I made a couple boulders up. This one here is quite hard. I find that every time I make up boulders for the first time on a spray wall, whether they're campus boulders or regular boulders, I always overestimate what I can do. And it took a while to realize that I should set a little bit easier with the regular boulders. And then I finally got into the groove of what a good difficulty is. And so it's going to be the same thing with the campus boulders. I overestimated them all in this session, and then I had to tweak them down a bit. And now I have a better idea of what level I should be trying to campus at. But actually this boulder here turned out to be really good. This one, I guessed the level pretty well and didn't end up needing any tweaks. This one has got like a really cool move off the purple sloper where you have to do a really intense scorpion to try and hold this teal. But I just didn't have quite enough power today to do this one, but could be fun to revisit. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to peace out and take a little rest week. I'm going to write a really detailed program. I'm going to write the next month of training and get just a good general idea for what the season is going to look like. And then in the next training series episode, we will feature some, lots of different kind of training. We'll be doing spray wall, campus, boulder sessions, all of the stuff. And I'll also feature a nice detailed breakdown of the program in the next episode as well. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.